All right, welcome back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the videos over the last couple of days of me and my son racing these TYPHONs, but now it's time to go over them. They took some severe abuse, continued to run hours upon hours, no issues, no breakages. I did slam into a curb and damaged one of the shocks that I repaired off camera. But other than that, in the race battles on asphalt, we didn't have any breakages. And I showed setting up my son's car because it didn't have any rebound on the front. And now they both have the same exact rebound. Same thing with the rears. His is probably a little faster, but we haven't serviced them at all. After I set up his car, set up the droop, and went over the whole front end, put bearings in the bell crank, got rid of the bushings that were on the bell crank, changed several wheel bearings that were on this that were bad, and changed the front pin bar that was bent, causing the RC not to drive straight. We did a lot of repairs to that. Also replaced out the receiver and put an ABC receiver in that. With this said, I had my son put the receiver in. This was the receiver, $75 for this receiver. It was called the SR6200A ABC receiver. It's a 6-channel. And I told my son at the time not to stick the antenna out. And as you see, the antenna's broken now from all the crashes and flips, because the older style, unlike the TLR, had the antenna sticking out. I told him to bring it to the top of the tube, put a cap on it, and put the rest in the box. He didn't listen. Now damaged the antenna, and I'm gonna have to somehow try to fix it because, tax everything, it's $85 receiver. It sucks. I told him this was going to happen. He started losing range and having that issue, and that's just from all the rollovers. The TLR TYPHON that I set up about a year ago, flawless. It does have some scrapes and scratches to the upper shock tower. They don't seem to be bent. Chassis have also taken some abuse. Now, I did go through the screws on this thing, on mine, in yesterday's video, just because I saw the chassis was starting to wear through some of the screws. We are racing on asphalt, and these things are slapping the chassis pretty hard. It's going to get to the point where these chassis are going to be no good on both of them. But very impressed with both the TLR TYPHON and the version 3 TYPHON. This is he's still running the BLX motor in there. We did change out the ESC just to give him a little bit more smoother power range, because the BLX system was either on or off and he was having a hard time controlling it. So I put a new Smart ESC, 6S ESC in here, and we tuned it, took some of the punch out of it, punch level set on 3. He has 100% brake. I have my brake set to 50% in the ESC, and then reduced down on the DX5C Rugged. I have it reduced to 30%. So that gives me the braking to where I could slam on the brakes. It won't slide the RC. Where my son, if you barely even touch the brakes, it locks up and he slides it. But he likes it that way because he can tap the brakes, get right on the trigger, and slide around some of them embankments. It's just different driving styles. This one with the bushings that were set up on the bell crank, we ended up losing a steering servo. Everything was binding up there. We ended up putting a new steering servo in here. I noticed that he was still having trouble controlling the RC, and it was actually hanging up either right or left on the steering. It was never really centering. When I pulled it apart, the bushings were packed with dirt, and it was causing the bell crank not to move smoothly. So we went ahead and took those bushings out, went ahead and put bearings in them. With all that said, it's time that I go through them, see if there's any damage from us, bashing against each other. My son has wore out these tires. We did purchase some Proline tires like this because he wanted the mud terrain tires, and I don't know why. These are actually clay tires, and they work really good on asphalt. Thing is, they wear down fast. This front right is already bald, front left is bald in the center, and rear has still some tread on it. The reason being is we retuned the diff because we had this originally set up for bashing. The diff was pretty stiff. It was driving off the rear. That was another reason he couldn't control it. Every time he went to nail the trigger, instead of it driving more off the front, it was driving more off the rear, causing the back to come around, and he was just spinning out, and we had no side-by-side action. So I thinned out, I put 30K. I actually had him do it. We have 30K in the center diff now. Front and rear diff are still, you know, his fluid is much tighter than mine. Mine is still the factory fluid, and it doesn't drive as hard. This, by running thinner front and rear diff fluids, it transfers the power. When you're into a turn, it transfers to the power to the wheel in the air, which causes the RC to settle down and not flip or roll over. When you're on high traction surfaces like we're racing, you definitely don't want thick center diff fluids or thick front and rear diff fluids. We can pull full trigger on straightaways, and the RC is just going to go. And that gives us the side-by-side action, which is something fun. I recommend everybody do it. And first time we went out, we ran on 6S because they are 6S capable, both of them. This was the TLR TYPHON roller before they made the ready to run, and I set it up. My videos were called "If ARRMA Were to Build a Ready to Run TLR TYPHON, a low-C tuned TYPHON, this is the way I feel they would build it." And it's pretty darn close to the ready to runs nowadays. I don't know why my son's got this backwards. But we're also both running the same battery pack, which is the smart, the older ones actually have the balance port. God, that's even got a hole in it now. Dang. Might have to change this battery end. It's got a hole in it. But we're running the same battery packs. Trying to keep them pretty much the same so that we have fun side-by-side action. It's the only way to really do it. So as you see, same exact batteries. So we have the same run time. Mine actually drains the pack a lot more because I do have the motor fan and heat sink on the motor. His motor has no heat sink, no fan. So after about 45 minutes of just straight running around that track, this motor is cooking. And we stop and let it cool down. My motor is always, you know, cool to the touch because it has the heat sink and fan on it. So they're pretty much set up the same. The plan was to put the new 2050 kV, just like what I put in the TLR TYPHON. This is a takeoff system from the felony infraction. Any of ARRMA's 6S line comes with this system. The plan was to put that same system in my son's because his was the older version 3 with the BLX, and he wanted to keep this motor. This motor actually has more like oomph, more magnet power in the motor, and it just seems to have more kick when you're pulling the trigger. So definitely got to pick some stuff up on his. Probably going to get these tires changed out. I do have a set of Duratrack lineups is what they're called. And then I have the factory TLR TYPHON tires, but these were real hard. And I don't think they had good traction. I think these softer MT tires did better. But I'm going to go ahead and throw these on and probably throw the lineups on my son's. And we're going to run these. Now, I'm not going to have the grip that he has, which is, you know, not a good thing because I'm not going to be able to get the traction out of the corners. But I want to give them a shot while I get some more of these ordered up, because this is all I have for now. Worst case is I'll just go back to these mud tires. They're doing pretty good, but they're eating up the knobbies. Just because of the drive on asphalt, it's really killing the tire. So we're going to get all the wheels knocked off of these things, and then we're going to clean up the chassis. I'm going to go ahead and get the batteries charged up so we can get out there again, but I really got to get these platforms cleaned up and make sure everything's okay. I believe everything's okay, and we're bumping and banging and slamming into each other, and if you notice, they're doing really, really well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the series. Get out there and definitely race with your kids, your family, your friend, your next door neighbor. You know, just make it fair. Set up the RCs. That's why we're running these two. These are very close to the same power level, same batteries, same platforms. He's actually, believe it or not, a little more at some disadvantage because of the TLR TYPHON tune. This has got the pills that go in here that I can set, you know, set up the suspension just to drive a little bit better. God, these things are stuck on. They're stuck on just because the wheels have taken so many impacts. Wow. Yeah, these things are pretty stuck on there. Wow. These things are on there. It's the problem with the cheap Duratrax rims.
Yeah, buddy.
I like the Proline rims better as they don't get stuck, as you see, because the plastic on the wheels are a lot better. Look at that tire, bald. Not that bald is a bad thing. It'll actually give you more traction on the asphalt until the tire blows up. Let me fight with getting these wheels off. We'll be right back. All right, now that I struggled, you can see the hexes are pretty beat up just from slamming into each other. Crashes, that kind of stuff. But we're going to go ahead and get these chassis cleaned up now, and then we'll get back on the bench so that we can start inspecting it. We'll be right back. All right, went ahead and got both chassis cleaned up. So now we're going to get tires put on them. So these are really good. These are really hard. Really need to get another set of tires. But we're going to go ahead and give my son the advantage and give him a better tire. And then I'm going to take the hard compound, which is going to make it very rough to get traction. I have a feeling he's just going to pull away. But we'll find out. and then I'll get some more tires ordered up. But, you know, I wish you can go battling every day. But there are times that you have to maintain and go through the RC, especially beaten up as hard as we are right now. I got to get his antenna fixed too. God, these things have, I don't know if you watched the last couple of videos, but these things have been taking a beating.
Oh. Yeah, buddy.
And I think that's why people like the TYPHON platform for this, whether it's racing in a parking lot or racing on a asphalt track, even in the dirt. The amount of abuse that these things take is insane. I really don't think these factory tires are going to do well at all. I remember pulling them off, and they are like a buggy type style tire. It's just a super hard compound. It's not soft at all, which I think if they were softer, they would do a lot better. But, you know, especially for a roller platform, you know, on a ready to run, I can see it being a super hard compound like this, because they want to give longevity to the person using it. Overall, the tire's the same height. I do like the rim better. It's going to be stiffer, take up them impacts. No axles bent yet. All right, so I think the next thing to do would be probably fix this antenna. Oh, broke off. I explained this to my son. That if you cut the antenna in any way, it's ruined. And it's loose in here, which isn't helping for LVC. I'm hoping I can steal the antenna off one of the other receivers. All right, 5/64. Oh look, it unplugs. See if these cheaper ones unplug. That just pushes down. Nope, that one's soldered on. And that sucks. Alright, well, we're going to have to stick a non-AVC receiver in here, back in here. New smart receiver, and bind it up. Which, I don't know if that's going to help him. Steering is white. Alright, now we got to bind it up and set all the sub trims back to 0. Alright, found a top for it. We're going to get a battery plugged in so we can start binding everything up because we're going to a non-AVC receiver. We got to make some changes. So, I don't know if this is going to pick up on camera, but we're going to go down to AVC. Even though we have everything at 0, we're going to switch on to inhibit. Then we're going to take the travels. We got to bring those back up to 100 for steering. And we're going to exit out of there. Sub trims, make sure those are 0. Then we're going to take our regular trim, set it to 0. Make sure throttle, everything's 0, but brake needs to be at 100%. Now, power it up, let it flash, go down to bind, should be bound up. And you don't have to recalibrate because when they're AVC receivers, every time you bind it, you have to recalibrate. So now that we got that done, we're going to set our steering trim endpoints. So the way you do that, you're going to go to travel, you're going to go to steering, and then we're going to turn it down until the steering doesn't move anymore. I turn it back up just so I'm not putting a big load on it. So 97 on left, 86 on right. Now that we're done with that, go ahead and unplug everything now. I'll throw the cap back on. That's it, ready to rip. And I'll call Horizon or Spectrum and see if I can get an antenna for that, so that I can fix the brand new receiver with ABC. Next thing to do is clean up the bodies, because that's the last thing to clean. See how this fits in. Antenna fits in. There we go. Now we ran these things back to back to back rips without any maintenance, just charging packs, just looking it over real quickly, making sure no bearings were blowing out, wipe them down. Actually, we just blew them off and then continued to rip. But now they're all set up, ready to rip again. And that's what it takes to bash, not even bash, race each other constantly, several battery packs. I think we're 10 battery packs in now. And the RCs had no issues, very strong. Let me know, what do you guys think of this TYPHON platform? I've never been a huge fan of it. I do like, I think this RC is meant for one thing, and that's racing with somebody else. On-road, light off-road, no bashing. That's just the way I feel about it. They can be converted, but all the technology in these things, all the adjustments that you have, it's really a racer's platform, if you will. But there we go. Like, comment, subscribe. You get some battery packs charged up, get back out, see how the new tires work. Thanks for watching.